Crichton, an astronaut. A radiation wave hit, and I got shot through a wormhole. I'm lost in some distant part of the universe on a ship, a living ship, full of strange alien life forms. Help me. Listen, please. Is there anybody out there who can hear me? I'm being hunted by an insane military commander, doing everything I can. I'm just looking for a way home.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Suns and Shadows with Jeff and Kev. This time we're wrapping up Season 1 of Farscape. So we wrapped up the first 11 episodes the last time, and we're going on to the second half. And happy 25th anniversary, everybody. It has been 25 years since Farscape first premiered on the Sci-Fi Channel, March of 1999. Kevin, you finally got to wrap up this as your first time watch for the first season. What did you think?
Golly, I liked it a lot. And I binged it really hard, really fast, pretty much yesterday and today.
Hell yeah.
Got really busy on Monday. I've got sick kids throughout the rest of the week.
Right.
And it just went so fast this morning that I got like the last 5 episodes in. And I loved every single second of it until the end.
And then gotcha.
Yeah. Like I'm sitting here watching this for like the last 3 episodes going, you know what? Or the last 2 episodes. It feels like a BBC episode or production where it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end to a point. And then nope. They end it with an American ending at the end. You're like,
screw you. You got to tune in for next year.
Mm-hmm. So CW.
I call it more like so Fox, ABC, so American.
Yeah, absolutely. Leave them wanting, salivating, afraid to miss it.
Well, if the show had ended after 1 season, imagine that as the ending for this show. People would be crying for years over that.
Kinda, because I mean the show does make you cry in the last third of it quite a few times, and you're just kind of like, damn, this gets the feels going.
Yeah, the characters are very engaging, very captivating, and the storylines just really pull you in. The show rewards you for your investment into it. So if you weren't feeling the characters in this show, you were never going to get that invested, then this show is definitely not for you. This is one of those shows that if you find yourself getting into one particular character, you're going to find yourself getting into all the characters eventually. And then they even introduce like Chiana later, Scorpius later. Crace has his kind of like tweener turn. He doesn't turn face. He's not quite a bad guy, but he's kind of somewhere in the middle. And then he runs off with Moya's baby. You motherfucker.
Kinda, and like that's where the real emotional investment is in the last third of the season is like Moya's baby. You're really concerned about this pregnancy.
Yep.
And I'm
damn it, Dargo, you took the condom off.
Right? And I'm trying to explain to my wife like why I'm so like agitated watching these last few episodes, like, you know, the baby's in duress, and she's like, what baby? I said, the ship is a biomechanical organism and it's having a baby.
Yeah.
And she just gives me this blank vacant look on her face and walked away.
Who's not into science fiction?
No. And I'm sitting there explaining it, and my son's kind of got this look on his face like, that sounds cool.
Said, please tell me more, Dad.
Yeah. And I'm having to explain to the kids, Mommy likes more grounded films, like more realistic. Yeah. But
don't ever let her watch Lex. She'll fucking kill you for that one.
No. She got fucking. She wasn't mad, not by any means, but she just kind of like eye rolled at the husband because Hunter wanted to watch a movie yesterday because he didn't feel good, and I'm like, well, how about Star Wars, son? It's about time you learned the Jedi way. got a half hour into it, 45 minutes. The wife comes home, starts making fun of it. Hunter doesn't get to hear the show anymore. I'm just like, God damn it. One day I'll get to watch it with him.
Yeah, one day you'll get there. It's almost like me trying to watch this with you. One day I'll get you to watch this show. And I did.
I want us to finish it. I know it'll take us a couple of years at this point, but this was a lot of fun.
Well, we are kind of eyeing up what we're doing for the rest of the year. Depending on how well this goes, we might adjust our schedule through the summer, but at least for April, we're kind of set. After that, we can kind of evaluate, but it's really going to depend on you, the listeners. If you're liking these and you're listening and you're sharing with it, participating in comments and all of the above, then maybe we can evaluate to do this sooner. But we are going to be getting into season 2 at some point.
Good, because I need to know what happens, but I also need to get to work tomorrow on the next show.
Well, we got time for the next show. That's a little on delay because I got a vacation coming up. So
I don't. Well, I mean, my family and I, we're going someplace, but it's not a vacation. I had a vacation this afternoon. I went to the movies.
Damn right you did.
Oh, but I really liked this. I was really invested in all the characters, all the way from John's ploy of getting lost, which seemed so silly to me at first, but you eventually do get into John's plight. And you feel for him when he accepts the fact that he's not going home and that he is now home whenever he's on Moya. Like, they really get you at the emotional investment with everybody.
Yeah, everybody cares about each other in one way or another, and they all rely on each other. So when one of them's down or hurt or off on their own little story, it all kind of comes back together in the end where they all come together. And you really feel part of the crew. This is one of those kind of shows that captures that ensemble magic where everybody just works so well together. Everybody's so well cast. All the acting is like top fucking notch. Like you get to the last couple episodes with even like Paul Goddard as Stark, the man with the phantom mask, for anybody who hasn't seen this show. When he shows up, my side, your side, my side, your side. Then you ultimately see what's going on with his character and how deep he really is. You don't get much screen time with him, but when he's on there, you're paying attention and it pulls you in. And when he shares a part of his soul or energy field with John to help relax him because John's being tortured up the fucking wazoo with that stupid Aurora chair and basically being mind raped. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. You almost want to scream, "Stop hurting my hero." But like the fact that Stark shares a part of himself to calm John down and you hear more about Stark's story, it's like, man, you're making me like a guy who's probably not going to stick around too much in this show, who ends up sticking around in this show, just off and on.
That's okay. That's okay, because I was going to ask what ended up happening with that guy. The last I'd seen, he had tried to ease Jelina's death.
Yes.
And which Jelina's death, that was pretty predictable. Yeah. But not when it happened necessarily. Like I expected it earlier on.
The when and the how was the big thing.
Yeah, the fact that she came back later on wasn't surprising. It was just that it was so later on, past the point where, yes, you do know that John and Aaron have feelings for one another.
Yeah.
And then here's the third wheel. Like, if you know she has to die so the other two can grow. That's just the way these kind of stories grow or go.
Well, the characters evolved as things went on. John was clearly spending more time with Aaron. They were growing closer. They finally acknowledged their feelings, especially during the Flax episode where they thought they were going to die. And so everything after that is you feel that gradual, okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. And then ultimately when Aaron's hurt, John does whatever he can to save her life. And then she has to rescue his sorry ass because he got captured.
But you know what? He was smart, and he threw the cure for her nerve problem into like a little porthole, which you see something like that on Batman Arkham Knight. Barbara does the same thing with evidence so Bruce can find it. You're like, oh, that's so smart. And they did this here 20 years prior to that.
Detail work, my friend. Like, they did some great job with the writing in this show. And then just to cycle back around to Jelena being the third wheel, like, they clearly had a plan for her very early on, but they waited long enough for people to kind of forget about her. And you're wondering, like, how Crichton's getting past the security checkpoint, and they saved that reveal for just the right moment. Because anybody paying attention, and you see her kind of in the shadows going, whatever the name was for the guy, Lothar or whatever, or Lothax or whatever his name was, and John just kind of follows her. Then he sees her and he's like, Jelena. But us as the audience, we kind of figured it out like almost immediately.
I just got something else stuck in my head. Yeah, like she was not a bad character, and you didn't want her to die. You felt bad for her. Like when she and Chiana were trying to work the change the memories for Crace.
Yeah.
And she asks Chiana about John's feelings. Does he actually have feelings for Aaron? No, not at all. And I'm sitting there writing it down. Oh, this bitch is good.
Yep. I remember that when the show first aired, and everybody online was like, "Oh, that was good." That was so fucking funny. It's like, she's full of shit. But Chiana also admits, I'm very good at lying, and it's like, yeah, for the most part. Except for when it comes to if somebody loves somebody or not.
She's a kick in the pants. I liked her about as much as I thought I would. I didn't know what her character was going to be like, and she's pretty much a brat, an impetulant child, and she's funny as hell at it.
When we agreed to let you stay on more, you promised to adapt to our ways.
I changed my mind. You adapt to me.
Her character does grow up. It matures to a point.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to lose that charm, but
no, and they don't. And Gigi Edgley is flawless as Chiana. She is a great addition to the cast and crew.
I agree, and I wasn't sure like if adding somebody was going to take somebody else away or if it was going to be too much. But no, it was so much fun because, like you said, everyone has wonderful interaction and chemistry with one another. And so seeing this new addition with everyone else have that same chemistry was a lot of fun because she has a different dynamic with every person. It's like it's a child or a teenager on the ship with a bunch of prisoners, criminals that aren't really criminals.
Well, yeah, like Dargo's true crime wasn't really a true crime. And Crace later admits he knew the entire time that Dargo never killed nobody.
Yeah, goddamn peacekeepers, those Pinkertons.
Yep, like everything feels so natural and so nice, and it all fits. It doesn't feel too perfect. It feels just gritty enough to where it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm watching a soap opera. It feels like you're really engaged by a story with amazing characters, with each with amazing stories. And I cannot wait to get more into what happens in season 2 when we get to that, because then everybody's really dealing with the ramifications of what happens in season 1 and in its ending. And it really carries through for the rest of the show, because while it's a serialized show, there's enough episodic going on in between that you're not feeling lost when you're trying to catch up. Like, I was watching the marathon the other day, yesterday, for all of us recording and listening in. And I was watching episodes from season 3 and season 4. And it's like, I know these episodes. And then I was trying to get back to finishing up this show because I only had like a couple episodes left. And then it just, because I saw what was happening, it reminded me of everything during those seasons. and make me think, shit, I thought that was during a different season. Fuck. And it just made me appreciate like season 1 all the more because it sets everything up so well. Like you get through like basically the first, I want to say 13 episodes ish. After that point, it feels like, okay, you had your prologue. The story is now starting forward now. Like we're not going to be too episodic. We're not going to have creature of the week, emergency of the week. Now here's the story for everybody going forward, period. And it's a nice pivot. It also feels like that's when the show really, really gels, especially when Shiana comes on board. Feels like, all right, this is the final group. This is what we're doing. This is where we're going. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, she really does kind of like plug the last hole in the family that is that crew.
Which you didn't realize you needed until she shows up. It's like, oh, they're adding another character to the crew. Great. Unlike other shows, it doesn't end up playing out like that, and it feels very natural.
Yeah. I want to say the interaction that she had that I loved the most, or the relationship that she had that I loved the most, was with Zan. Because here's somebody with perfect discipline trying to teach somebody with zero discipline. And it's so funny.
Pretty much. I have an audio clip I'm going to throw in here in post, and it's basically Zan just talking to her about like, we asked you not to do this. Hey, you know better. And Jenna's like, yeah, I do. I just don't care.
She was a really fun character. Like the best way I could have described her, and I wrote down in my notes, she's a street urchin type of Selena Kyle.
Yep.
Like Aladdin meets Selena Kyle is the best way I could describe her. And it was a lot of fun.
Fun? How am I to have fun?
I don't know how you're supposed to have fun, but this is fun. This is Top Gun. This is the need for speed. You like this stuff, admit it.
I have no need for speed.
Oh, yeah. And then the Nabari are shown as like some real nasty bastards. They're the ones who disabled the Zalinian. Or Zalvinian, I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
With a transport ship, they disabled a giant battle cruiser.
Yeah, and decimated everyone. Left
On
pretty
board.
much every. Yeah. And that, golly, that was such a powerful episode for Rigel.
Yep.
And then you find out that Durka, the guy that tortured him, wasn't dead at all. He faked his own death and ran away, left his crew to die.
And then he got nabbed, and then they threw him in a basically Demolition Man style cryo storage, and while they reprogrammed him for 100 years, and boy, that came undone real quick. All you had to do is just throw a bomb near him and have it go off, and okay, I'm a bad guy again.
Yeah, right. Just a little bump on the head, slight concussion. We're all good.
Yep.
A little contusion. But golly, he did really well, that actor, going to a complete sociopath by the ending.
Oh yeah.
And Rigel, the range of his voice in between terror and hate and spite and revenge and finally like relief that when he dies is, you really feel like Rigel's entire journey in that episode just through his voice and the puppeteer's actions, of course, but the sound of the shrill voice and terror is just, it made you feel that.
Yeah, that's just to be able to get attached to even a puppet.
Yes. Yeah. And
that says a lot, and I know a lot of people can't get over the puppetry thing. Like, if you can get past it, this is a great story here, and he's got a great character that he thinks he's trying to do his best, and oftentimes he really is. Other times he's really out for himself,
as we see in the finale.
Oh yeah, it starts right off. That's it. I'm out of here. Screw you guys. I'm going to sell you out. But he ends up not. But
only because he didn't have time. Or I'm sorry, no, it wasn't so much that is they didn't need him.
Yep, they weren't buying what he was selling.
Yeah, they didn't give a shit about his information. They could have easily found Moya if they wanted to, and they did eventually.
Yep, they narrowed it down on their own. They just had to wait a few hours.
Yeah, and golly, that was a fun countdown.
Yeah.
Is that the proper term to define that? Like, who was going to get there first? And golly, it was the bad guys, and they kind of left you with that Empire Strikes Back ending.
A little bit, but the heroes did get their payback before that kind of ending, and that they blow up the whole fucking moon.
That was cool.
Hey, we're just gonna try and take out a base and ignite something. Oh, we set the moon on fire. Oops.
Whoopsie doodle. I like when they had the ship trying to get away that was having the fuel trail go behind it.
Oh, yeah.
And they lit the fuel trail. I was like, oh, Beautimus.
Well, that's something from like an old 70s, 80s action movie. Basically, the car's leaking gas. As it's trying to get away, just set the thing on fire. They even did this in Die Hard 2. Airplanes taking off. Completely ridiculous, but then they replicated something like that in Farscape. It was totally awesome, and the visual effects were beautiful for it.
Yes.
Blew the fuck out of that bitch.
The fact that you don't see more effects today like this is redonkulous. They did this 25 years ago, and I'm sure their budget was probably big but not great, and the Henson Company did such an amazing job building this universe.
Yeah.
We keep talking about the puppets. This was truly Henson's really, I don't want to say finest work by any means, but Rigel looked a lot like the Sinclair dinosaurs from the TV show, where he had the fully functional face that could move in every way.
Really articulate.
Yes. And the puppeteers were so good moving those controls that the feeling was there just as much as the voice was.
Oh yeah.
And it was a perfect unison.
Yeah,
until he farted.
Helium. Giano with the helium voice was so fucking funny. I forgot about that. The second he farted, I'm like, oh, that's right. I forgot about this.
You're disgusting.
For sure, I've seen so many times. There's things because there's 88 episodes in total. It's just man, things I forget because I remember other things even more so.
I could respect that because there's no bad episodes. I mean, again, I know you said the second episode is one of the lowest rated ones, but personally, there's not a single bad episode in this first season. Every single one is engaging. There's really not a whole lot of filler type feeling episodes, although I'm sure there is.
There's a couple, but they didn't need that one second to last episode where they were on the plant planet.
Yes.
And the lady was eating everybody. And if you didn't know that, Kevin, the lady who was playing that character, Emily, that is Ben Browder's wife.
Oh, I did not know that.
Francesca. That was his wife.
That's
she appears
cool.
a couple of times as different characters throughout the series. So.
Oh, I was hoping she was going to eat everybody on the ship.
Well, that didn't happen because in the next episode, Scorpius is still alive, but the implication is sometimes we need to sacrifice some of ourselves. I think Scorpius was familiar with that species enough to be yeah, if we feed her one or two of you, we're probably going to get the answers we're looking for.
You're worth my research.
You're worth my time. Just stay away from me.
And that was a complicated episode. It was like a triple cross.
Yeah, that was one of those we're doing a filler episode. It doesn't ultimately end up being a filler episode because of what was going on within it.
Yes. And the only thing I think that ends up being important by the end of the episode is that you find out that Zan is a plant-based organism.
Yep. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. But this was still fun, even though it was filler, because it felt like Swamp Thing. And they make a couple Swamp Thing references.
Yep. I love the self-reference or the pop culture references in this show. I think it really brings it all together. Like, you're speaking our language, buddy.
Kind of, yes, because it makes you feel like you are in their universe.
Yep.
And that makes it all the more fun.
I catch that reference. I know what he's talking about. That's even better.
Yeah, cats and dogs living together. Mass hysteria.
Yep. Man, if there was I believe there was a drinking game years ago where something about like every time there's pop culture reference, you have to take a shot.
That's
funny. And then you're gone within 3 episodes.
I was going to say, you better not binge watch. Otherwise, you're going to be binge drinking too.
Exactly.
Binge passing out.
I should look that back up. I don't know if I have that saved somewhere. Wayback Machine may be able to help me with that one.
The drinking games.
Yeah. I'd probably do it with soda so I can enjoy everything.
I would do it with weed just to watch everybody else fall.
There you go.
My metabolism is mighty.
Yep. Oh, that reminds me of that episode where in the Flax where Rigel's playing that kind of chess game and he's off smoking off this little hookah sort of situation. And he's like, man, he is such a horrible player. I had to try so hard to lose to that jackass. And Zed's just like, wait, you tried to lose? Of course. I changed everything the second the dude came on board. It was like, Zed and us in the audience were all just like, son of a bitch.
Rigel is like the most sleazy piece of shit.
Duplicitous little self-serving fucker on the show. And it's just, he's so fucking funny. I can never get enough of him just being himself. He's just wild as a character, but there's also times when he really esteems himself as a true royal. But I loved it, like when he was talking about like, oh, me, I like my wives like I like my ship, or something like that. Like my feet are warm in bed with my wives and my ship is whatever it was. I just dying laughing. And John Crichton's like, wives, plural? And he like, high five, Spunky or Sparky.
Yeah.
So freaking funny.
I love where Rigel was trying to talk about knowing what parenthood is like. I've got hundreds of progeny. And
they're all like tiny and cute, like me.
But I haven't actually been present for any of the births. No, that's the woman's job.
Yep.
And you're like, oh God, even when he's trying to be, smart and show wisdom, he's just a fucking asshole.
Man, who they got to voice him was tremendous. Jonathan Hardy, totally fantastic. Totally gives that character a little more juice on the bone, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or meat on the bone. That's the proper phrase, I believe.
Because he does come off as very sovereign. Like that is very reflected. He captures that character's persona.
Yeah, and then later on in the show, you in a later season, you actually see the voice actor in a live action role.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's really cool. So they at least gave the voice actors a little something extra for investing into the show with their time.
Now, the heads that were in Crace's office, were those other Rigels or just his species?
His species.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if that was like his brother or Rigel the 15th, what have you. I don't know.
No, those are just other Hynerians that have probably been tortured and killed by Crace and trophied, which makes him like even more dangerous. Like, holy shit, this dude actually like killed, or maybe he ordered them to be killed and stuffed and mounted. I don't know, but it's certainly implied like he certainly has a thing for killing Hynerians.
Yeah, and I love Scorpius's fucking response to that. Does this make you feel powerful? Like, does it make you remember better times?
Man, what Wayne Pygram? Oh, outstanding as Scorpius.
He is what I remember. He and Gigi or Gianna were really what I remember from the show, like from the most like production.
Yeah.
Promo. I always see them on TV Guide because that was still a thing back then.
I still have a couple TV Guides somewhere. One is an Enterprise one with Scott Bakula in it on the cover.
Oh, cool. Speaking of which, I'm sure Starlog was probably one of them too.
Yeah, and then I think Farscape actually graced the cover of TV Guide 2 once.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool. MST.
I think so. I always wanted that. I could never. I should probably look that up. Riveting audio with the Sons and Shadows crew.
Clickety clack 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 clack.
TV Guide Farscape. Yep.
Yeah,
Claudia Black, July 2000. I'll show you on a split screen. For anybody who's not exactly watching us on YouTube in the next several months, when I finally upload this there, I'm going to be showing Kevin. It's got Claudia Black on it.
Hey.
Claudia Black.
Oh, cool.
July 2000.
Wow, go them. So that was their second season and doing pretty well then.
And then in August, they had Chiana Zan. July, yeah. They had 3 different covers.
Neat.
I'm adding that to my watch list. Although I don't like the shipping on that, but whatever. And just remind me to look for these later. That's all.
This show will make you realize that you have alien kink that you didn't know you had.
Oh, here was another one from June 2002. That was towards the season 4. So yeah, Farscape was kind of a thing back then.
Wow.
People forget about like how popular that really like was. I got some of these illustrated companions and other books, though. They're in storage at my dad's, which I hope to be bringing home after my little trip coming up. So.
TV viewers are fickle. I don't know. It's so hard to guess what can make a studio keep a TV show going for so long.
Right.
Versus, no, we're tired of this. And in our experience, what we've learned is that all depends upon what studio it is and who just bought the studio. What their what their personal politics are. Like, I don't like horror films. I don't like sci-fi. Man, get rid of it. It's not profitable. Man.
Even on a place called the Sci-Fi Channel that doesn't like its science fiction.
Well,
ultimately, that's where they go with that.
Yeah. Kind of like MTV that doesn't play music, ESPN that doesn't really play any popular sports.
ESPN, the Ocho.
The Ocho.
You can dodge a network, you can dodge a TV show.
And a subscription panel. But Scorpius was such a marvelous looking villain between his makeup and his wardrobe. But I can't get past the Chinderwear thong.
That never goes away.
I know. That's
you do eventually get used to it, though.
You get used to it, but not if you're a Misty. Like, if you're a Misty, you see a thong on a chin. All I see is
by the thong on my chinny chin. I'm huffing and I'm puffing. It'll blow your house in.
Oh, green jelly.
That's my ghost.
I have that video, dude. I fucking love that shit.
I know, me too. Sorry, podcast listeners, but Scorpius is fantastic. The design, like you said, is outstanding. The only comment I kind of remember back in the day was people felt like it was a little too much of a kind of a carbon copy of Darth Vader. And I'm like,
no,
Darth Vader did not corner the market on villains dressed in black. And you actually saw this dude's face from the second you saw him.
Yeah, and it's scary. Scarier than fucking Darth Vader's fucking old bald ass was.
Right. Well, the feeling was they wanted to provide somebody who was a little more menacing to John rather
Yeah.
than Crace, who he was evenly matched with. They wanted to provide somebody who was basically like his Joker, but with muscle and smarts. And so that's how they ended up developing Scorpius to give the show a little more depth on the villain front. And I felt like that was a good way to go. And even initially, I'm like, that's a cool villain. Love the fucking name. And that actor is amazing. As you will find out in the upcoming, throughout the rest of the show, there's a range to that man, and he's fantastic.
I like what we're starting to see of him being a scientist, but then have a switch to be a raging mad god. Like,
He's fucking crazy when he goes in that mode too.
yeah. Like, wow, that was interesting.
And I'm not going to tell you what that deal is either, so you'll find out next season.
Pure, unadulterated, raw testosterone. Yeehaw!
High tea.
High tea. Again, we're not sponsored by anybody, but we're willing to be.
Absolutely.
Fund our show, I'll admit to low tea.
Nest tea, low tea, high tea, Long Island iced tea. Iced tea.
Chai
Not
tea.
the rapper.
I like him though.
You threw me
That's
for
a
a
whole
loop on that
0
one.
point.
Wrong show, Kevin.
I know, because it's like, I know, but it was me like, dude, it was his wife's birthday last week. I'm ashamed that I know that. Anyway, Farscape, Scorpius was an extremely menacing character. The fact that people were nagging that he was like Darth Vader seems really redonkulous. But then again, it is the internet, and that's where people go to fucking bitch and smear their feces.
Yeah, well, the internet is 90% truth, Kevin. Didn't you know?
Yes, yes.
And Al Gore invented it, so don't forget that either.
That is also true, as we saw in The Simpsons.
Yep, very true.
What a magoo.
Yeah, pretty much. At least Talon looked like a complete badass of a brand new baby boy ship.
Oh, the ship. I was so happy to see that Aaron made that bond with it. And that was one of those things that you talked about last episode where it planted a seed that grew into something awesome later on in the season.
Yep.
Where Aaron gets her DNA spliced with Pilot. So now she could speak with Moya and Talon. So cool. And Talon has this moment where it's beeping at her like R2 as a child would.
Right.
And you felt it in a way. And that's one of those things where I was talking about in the last few episodes. You really felt concern about the baby, even though the baby's just a fucking spaceship with guns.
Yeah.
You're concerned about the baby spaceship. And it sounds so ridiculous, but it feels so right. It doesn't seem ridiculous when you sit and watch it from the beginning. You get the emotional investment even for Moya.
Oh, yeah. Well, I really like the fact that even the ships have a character beyond just being a ship with character. It's a ship that has character, not with character. So it can separate itself from any other science fiction show that involves like spaceships. Like I've seen other shows that have like living ships, whatever, Lex to like whatever as far as anything else goes. But
Avengers.
This is something unique to this show, and they all have their individual personalities. I think it's fantastic. And I also like the fact that Talon is also the kind of the nature of a ship where he doesn't need a pilot. He can actually take the commands verbally or through manual inputs. He can hold a pilot, but he doesn't need one to function. And that's a interesting touch. And also the fact that one has never been born before. So who knows what kind of fun things are about to come for Talon as he's growing older and bigger.
Yeah, that's the growing bigger thing is what I was thinking about this morning. I was like, ooh, that's going to be interesting because how big can he get?
Well, yeah. And they were even saying like he has the possibility to be bigger than Moya. And it's like, oh, shit.
Especially
gonna
if he
be
has high tea.
yeah, he's gonna wreck shop.
It's going to be very popular.
Yep. Well, I love the ship so much. And yes, I know the arc for any of our listeners that have seen the entire show. I love the name so much. It's part of one of my usernames online that I've had for years. And I think it's just outstanding. Him and his arc with Krace and Krace alone, because now Krace is basically a fugitive himself who ran off with Talon. And what goes on with them going forward is tremendous. But this was the big setup for that whole story arc to begin. And there's no better way to kick it off than with this kind of a storyline because of how it plays out throughout the show.
Now, regarding Krace and his transition of character, was he being sincere with John when he said that he accepts and understands that John didn't mean to kill his brother?
Yes, that is the resolution to basically that storyline. Grace is never, I'm not going to say never tries to kill them again, but he doesn't have that kind of rage-focused anger that he's trying to kill John straight up. And it's very clear, and it never comes up again. They never really bring up the brother too much ever again because that's a storyline that's basically resolved now.
Well, that's cool. That is cool because that got old, and that would have gotten old.
You can't play a storyline like that for like 4 or 5 seasons of a show. You have to grow your storylines, and that means your characters have to grow as well.
Yeah, and that's why Scorpius was a very smart move and natural progression.
Oh yeah.
Well, it felt natural. I can't say it's natural because most TV shows wouldn't do stupid shit like that. They'd drag it out for 4 seasons, like you said.
Yeah, this is a show that does not rest on its laurels. It's always kind of changing. Sometimes it's a little frustrating, but overall, it's exceedingly well paced and plotted out. These writers had an idea in mind and they stuck to it even through the very end of season 4.
Now, see, I didn't find myself being frustrated by the characters in this. Like, you have to.
You're only 1 season in.
What's that?
You're only 1 season in.
Fair enough. But like every character on the show has a moment of complete impatience and selfishness.
Yes.
That is almost uncharacteristic of them.
At times, yes.
But if you can get past that, the end of the episode, everyone's a family again and laughing at dinner. And it feels cool.
Yeah, especially that episode where Crichton thinks he's back on Earth and everybody's getting dissected or thrown in a isolation cell or getting transported to Area 51.
That was messed up. I mean, I get what that species was trying to do to like play the simulation out in his head, but fuck, you could have just asked.
I know, right? It's really that's one of my favorite episodes because of the big reveal at the end of like, why is everything 7 months behind? Shit.
Right?
Because it's all in my memory. It's what I last remember. I'm going to go someplace where I've never been before. The women's restroom in a bar.
That was smart. That made me giggle. I was like, ah.
Yep.
But that was so much fun. And I liked it for the gentleman that plays Jack Crichton. Like his dad, the alien that played his dad was pretty cool in that. I liked him. Even when he switched to being the alien character, he was still a likable character.
His name escapes me, but he was actually the president of the Film Actors Guild at the time.
Oh, really?
Kent McCord. Yep.
Yes.
And the fact that they actually got him on was awesome.
Wow, go him.
Yeah.
Wow. See, they've got
down in Australia. It was probably like, hey, you're going to fly me down to Australia for a week or two? Sweet.
Yeah, like there's really no downside to that at all.
No.
No, I would love to have that happen. Again, I complain about someplace where everything will kill you, but golly, I'm sure it's beautiful.
Yep. You'll just be surrounded by cats.
Cats, lizards,
Mass hysteria.
mass hysteria, kangaroos, Tasmanian devils.
Yeah, well, they incorporated whatever they could into this show, and all that was largely set in real Australia for that too. So it was
Yes.
no longer looking like an alien planet; it was just straight up in Australia. I loved Aaron's like natural peacekeeper voice, which sounded so fucking weird.
Oh, it was cool though. The the clicks and the dunk. Such a fucking cool sound, and the like she was talking backwards almost, or in rewind.
Almost what that was, yeah.
Oh, really?
And that's her real voice. The little like the pause and the, I think that was added in post a little bit, but she did kind of make that her own little language.
That's kind of cool.
They gave her the freedom. This show gave the actors a lot of freedom, which it plays across screen very well. I think that really adds to the mystique of the show, where the actors got to actually add their own investment into their characters beyond what was on the page.
And look what the results were. What a win.
I know.
You get directors and studios that don't allow such things, and that's when you get prepackaged cardboard poop, for lack of a better term, where you get something like this or something like Iron Man, where you get an actor where you're just kind of like, you know what, let's see what they do, and they make something completely fucking special, like this, like the various different characters.
Yeah,
the flicking of Rigel and calling him Spanky or whatever, every
Sparky.
Something new. Yeah, Sparky, Spanky,
and
whatever.
Pip or Chiana.
Pip, your lowness. I think
Yep.
that was one of the things that they called him. Your flatulence.
Yep. So funny.
They had a lot of fun coming up with different words and names, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. The only problem I had with any of that was like they never really gave Pilot a real name outside of Pilot. I'm like, oh, that's too bad. I mean, it's not a real drawback or anything. It's just like you could have given Pilot a real name.
It's a little racist, don't you think?
Don't you misgender me? No, I'm kidding.
He could at least have a fucking name.
Just take his arm off. Who cares?
Yeah, right. It'll grow back.
Please.
But I liked Pilot a lot.
Yeah.
I know I said it last episode, but his functionality and his articulation is beautiful. You could only imagine
his sarcasm.
His sarcasm is wonderful too, because it's so flat that you can't tell when it's sarcastic.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, wait a minute. Am I supposed to laugh at that, or am I supposed to? Yep, I'm supposed to laugh at that.
Yeah. Was he being serious about the arm? Yeah, he was. That's
when you know he's serious, when he's extra serious.
Yeah, when he kind of looks back down and starts moving the controls again instead of looking at whoever he's talking to.
Yeah.
But oh man, I can't wait to watch the rest of this. I can't like have a moment where I'm not wanting to think about what happens next. This was a fun binge. When you got to one episode, you get to the end, a lot of people will walk away or just click close. This is one you're going to want to click next episode, skip intro
every time.
Yeah, not always do you want to skip intro, because I really do. The music grows on you, but it's going to be one that you want to burn through, and then you're going to want to watch it multiple times, like Jeff said, because you're going to catch new things every single time. Absolutely. I had to rewind several times just to make sure that I'm writing things down right in my notes, that I saw something right, and there were plenty of times that I didn't, and I was glad that I rewound.
Replayability with the show. That's always a good sign.
Well, speaking about that, the Blu-ray set that you got, that's going to have to be on my to-do list very soon from Shout Studios.
It's a good set. If you want to save about $20-$30, there's a different set I can tell you to get. And for our listeners too, it's the Blu-ray set from Australia. It is region free, and it's the same exact content, except there's one interview that is not on there. And for Peacekeeper Wars for the American set, they did fix the audio a little bit, but the Australian release, I never had a problem with the original audio to begin with anyway. So
I'm just a huge whore for Shout Studios. Like, I love their special features and their stuff. So
it's a good box set, though.
Yeah. But at the same time, I also kind of want to get in on that ordering movies from Australia thing. I think that was pretty cool. I missed out on Weird.
Yeah, and that was region free as well.
I know. And that one was actually limited to 500 discs, unlike the one in here in the States.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole with Scream and Shout Factory and their limited numbers. Fuck that bullshit. But no, the Farscape set is still available to get. Between the Scream Factory set here in America or the Australian set, can't really go wrong either way. Picture quality is outstanding, and all the extras from previous releases are all on these sets.
And in that regard, that's one of the reasons why I really want it. Not so much the fact that, not owning something other than streaming kind of sucks, because it's not always going to be there.
Right.
But this, like I said last week, this was really pretty to look at on my phone or on the tablet, but blown up on the TV, it was not so much. I'd really love to see it in off the Blu-ray.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even if you're trying to watch it off of, say, like YouTube or Tubi, it's on a bunch of different streaming services, pretty accessible. Shout channels running a live stream right now, basically through the whole show. I mean, that looks okay on a TV, but ultimately, one of these Blu-ray sets is going to look tremendous on your TV. So I do highly recommend doing that. And for all of our listeners, we do have affiliate links in the description down below wherever you are listening. So if you do not mind, hit that description on the podcast for this episode. There'll be a link down below for either of those two sets. If you do order from there, it kicks us back a few cents. So we totally appreciate it. It's another way to support us here at the show.
It helps keeps the lights on.
Yeah.
That's what I always like to say. It keeps the lights on. It keeps Moya's ships or thrusters burning.
Yep. And it also makes sure that you get your starburst whenever you want it.
And whenever you need it, not just when she can, which was another fun aspect of the show. I can't warp. I'm too pregnant.
I can't move. Where's the chocolate covered shrimp and the potato chips? I'm munchy.
What was it on Lady and the Tramp? Pickles and chop suey. Chop suey?
Chop suey.
I didn't even know chop suey was a thing back then. But anyway.
Hong Kong fooey. Number one super guy.
I'm going to have that stuck in my head now, and it's going to be a 0 point. God damn it.
The show is wacky and wild enough that it's fun to just it gets you in the mood to want to do pop culture references of your own when you're talking about the show, because you talk about like what Crichton says, and it just gets you thinking when you're talking in general with anything else.
Kinda. And one of the neat things, like you said, is John speaks nerd speak. So you're very much going to understand what he's saying. It's not like you're sitting there watching something that's completely hardcore Australian speak. No, you understand this very well and very easily.
Oh, yeah.
Although,
it's just enjoyable. It's so much, you can just sit back and relax. Yeah, it'll make you think here and there with the plot, and that's perfectly fine. But it's not so complicated you can't follow along with what's happening and where it might be going next, to pull you in to try and figure out, how are we going to get out of this mess? How are we going to get into this mess? Whatever's going on. It's just a continual teasing of the brain and providing a nice little release and an escape.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I'd said I wasn't able to string together a 6-pack challenge for the whole season, because everything flows one episode to the next so seamlessly. For the most part, it's either immediately after, 5 minutes after, or a day after, but sometimes it goes months after, doesn't it? Like 4 or 5 months.
Yep.
I want to say that's where he thinks they left him behind. He thinks that he got left behind.
I was just going for a drive and you bailed on me.
That was stupid because you're just kind of like, do you really think they would have fucking left you dumbass? Like,
well, we got over it pretty quick when they told him, like, Moya just jumped. It just happened. We didn't do it on our own. And he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, at least he was rational enough to be like, that makes sense.
Shit. I've been mad for 6 months and didn't need to be.
Yeah, right. Like, I'm sure that was awesome on his stress level. And then watching him fish that giant cockroach out of the water was just disgusting.
Yeah, I know, right?
So disgusting. But it was a fun episode. Like, at first you're thinking he's like Robinson Crusoe all by himself. Then no, he's with this tribe. And then here's like Morgan Le Fay and Mordred wanting to take over the tribe. And you're just kind of like, golly, this gets way complicated and it's fun. It's references to other stories, great literary stories, not just stupid stories.
Like, not the common ones that everybody gets into.
Yeah, so for lack of a better term, it's not based on tropes. It's actually based on like really good stories, like classic literature.
Right, and if they do something tropish, they put it on its head and make it spin.
Yes, and like we said earlier, where there's like a triple cross or a triple threat between who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, who's going to eat who, but who's still really the good guy and the bad guy. Like, they really will make you think for the whole 55 minutes. And you're like, God damn.
It's like an Abbott and Costello skit. Who's on first?
Yes, and that's even mentioned once or twice.
Exactly.
And what was it that Scorpius is after? He thinks that John has wormhole technology in his head, right?
Correct. Somehow locked in there because of that species that was testing him. They somehow miraculously just shoved some information in his head, but he has to find it on his own, and he has to be able to handle the knowledge that he becomes aware of, or he'll never find his way home. So they basically they gave him like the Cliff Notes version, is what it feels like. Because my memory is just a tick fuzzy. It has been a couple years since I watched the show, but they do give him the knowledge to handle and deal with wormhole technology, but he's got to come to it on its own. And Scorpy sees like that's in there, and that's more than he and his base had put together, period. And he feels like that's way more valuable than anything. So that's why he's after John. He wants that knowledge. Once he gets it, he could give a rat's ass. John could croak in 5 seconds after that.
Yeah, I don't think he'd give a shit. I mean,
no.
If he didn't die, I could probably just see him being like, all right, thank you, goodbye.
Right, and Scorpion's going to want to ensure that he's taken alive. Even to the bitter end, Scorpius never tries to kill him.
Oh, really?
He might leave him in certain situations, but he does not actually go out of his way to kill him.
That's cool, because again, it's for what John went through in the Aurora chair. Capture's worse than death.
Oh yeah.
Death. So, well, it's like you said, he and Crace both had their minds raped and perverted.
Yeah. And somehow Stark withstood like 2 years of being subjected to that.
Well, it's because he was an alien species, wasn't he?
Alien species, and he had the ability to block out certain memories. And I like their little interaction during that episode where they've escaped and they're outside and they're like, what were you hiding? And John's basically like, oh, you'd think I was hiding this information or that information. I was actually just hiding this time I kissed a girl. And Stark just like, they have a nod and he's like, well, what were you hiding? It's like, I was just hiding in the location of a beautiful paradise place.
Yeah, this place I went to once before.
Just this one place I've been to before. And it's like, nice. I like that.
Oh, I loved how crazy he acted too. Oh, I love the chair. I love it. I only talk in the chair.
Well, the crazier I act, the more they leave me alone.
Kinda. Like if you shit your pants,
Truer
they're not
words
gonna-
have never been spoken on television. The crazier I am, the more they leave me alone.
No, God help me. Truer
That
words
should
have
be our
been
new
spoken.
slogan on our podcast.
Diarrhea. No one ever comes by when it's diarrhea. That's the smartest and truest thing I've ever heard on TV. God help me, that was John Cryer in 2.5 Men.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't know that one.
Yeah, Charlie was faking sick, and he tells the lady that he has the flu, and his brother Cryer tells him, "You should have said you had diarrhea." No one ever questions diarrhea, that she will not come by. And she does. She comes by with like chicken soup.
Oh, jeez.
And so like he's got to like pretend having the flu instead of just getting the shits and leaving.
Okay. Thank you for the visual.
You're welcome. What show were we talking about again? Farscape.
Farscape.
25th anniversary with no Charlie Sheen.
Well, I was going to say that makes me think of like all the fancy food they were eating throughout this season, but
The fancy food that wasn't even that.
food cubes.
Which looked like vanilla or chocolate wafers. The tiny wafer cookies, which made me hungry for those. It's like, oh God, I want 30-cent cookies. Okay, sure.
Well, one of the fun things I liked from all of that was when Crichton said he made his mother's like biscuit recipe, and they're like, "Doesn't that have ingredients that we don't have?" And he's like, "Yeah." So I just kind of figured out whatever was around here, and everybody just started throwing their biscuits at him.
He's like, that's why it doesn't taste right.
Yep, that's probably why it doesn't taste right.
And they were such a fun family when they got along, and even when they didn't get along, they were a funny family. But
Oh yeah,
when they
It's like-
did, it was
this is my kind of crazy.
yeah, mainly Aaron, Dargo, and John. Well, and Zan
Yeah,
were, but the three of them were particularly fun
yes.
as warriors and travelers. Zan's much more your Spock type character, which fantastic, great, is not bad. Pip, she's they got
He's a
to
handful.
they called her a trollop.
Yep.
Trollop is one of my favorite words, and I know I mentioned MST before, but there's an episode of Mystery Science Theater that even those fans say is so bad that they can't sit and watch it, and that's Hamlet. Hamlet, to
Oh.
me, is one of the funnier episodes because they make a bunch of whore jokes about his mom. And as she's walking to get married to the uncle or whatever, you hear Servo going, trollop.
I don't think I've ever seen that whole episode in its entirety.
It's worth it just for the whore jokes, but when he calls trollop.
I wonder if that's up on the channel too, because that's another Shout property as well.
It should be, yes. It was. If it's not, it is on the app.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The app is free. It just has streaming. I'm sorry,
Gotcha.
it just has streaming. It has ads. But anyway, back to Farscape and its 25th anniversary.
Yeah, happy anniversary, everybody.
I know I mentioned it the other day, and you said no, it wasn't the case. But golly, it really feels like they want a revival, and I think they deserve it. Sure,
Yeah, I
it's been
guess that would be
25
the next
years.
big question here, talking about the first season. Like, they're talking about like, hey, they've asked Gigi and Ben, would you come back? And they are both like, yeah, let's fucking go.
Yeah, why not? Everyone likes the characters. Everyone had fun doing it.
There's an article out there, or one of the interviews that Ben conducted for this anniversary, and he said they're talking to Henson about it. It's going to come down to they got to get the funding together for it, and Henson can't foot the bill all by its lonesome on this. They are going to need like investors, because shows like this are not cheap. They're just not. They never have been, and they never will be. If they are super freaking cheap, it's because you only have basically like 2 or 3 main characters and just 2 static sets. And you can't do a complex show like that long term. You might be able to do fine for a season or 2, but beyond that, you can't do that. So they probably want a good, solid story. But my big question would be, Is Henson still part of Disney, or did Disney let Henson go? That's what I'm a little fuzzy on. I don't know about that.
They own the Muppets. They do not own the Henson Company.
Okay, so Henson could do this on its own.
That's my understanding.
Away from Disney is what I mean, not on their own.
Correct, because movies like Mirror Mask are Henson features that were not Disney.
Yeah.
Although Mirror Mask was a Lisa Henson feature. Brian didn't work on that one. I don't know. Earth to Ned was not a Muppets feature, but again, Disney ordered that one.
Well, you know what? I guess they would be individual. I just see something on their website talking about Fraggle Rock Season 2 on Apple Plus.
Oh, that's right. I thought it was HBO. No, HBO got Sesame Street.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
My wife might be interested in that Fraggle Rock, but I could definitely see. Yeah, Apple Plus. They're working on with Apple. Apple? Yes. Let's fucking go. I want my continuation. Let's fucking do it. Let's go.
If they were to go someplace horrible like Netflix,
no,
I would love it if the season was written more like BBC series that has the beginning, middle, and end, because you don't trust Netflix to fucking continue on a series. Like, don't go there. Just don't.
Make your own show with your own production studios, then shop the show to Netflix, and always keep that kind of relationship. Don't be an in-house Netflix production.
Yeah.
That's what leads to problems.
Like, they have a deal going on right now with Walmart for a whole bunch of merchandising and shit. And I don't even think that's worth it. Like, it's Stranger Things and a couple animes they just released. They're putting out a whole bunch of marketing for it through Walmart.
Is one of them Blue-Eyed Samurai? Probably. Or Dr. Stone or something like that.
I'm not sure.
I'll have to look into that. I mean,
but yeah, the merchandising isn't worth it to me. It's really not.
When you sent me the link for that t-shirt, and I saw that a little bit earlier, and it's like, yeah, we could get back into merchandising for Farscape. That'd be really cool.
That would be really awesome. And that merchandising doesn't make a whole lot of money, but it can help with funding features.
Right. And I would not kickstart or crowdfund a TV show of this nature. Unless you're just doing a movie, okay, maybe enough to get the movie started. Yeah. But it ain't going to be enough. And I wouldn't do it. It's not worth it. The Kickstarter that was just out was strictly for the comic books that are re-released. So,
which I think would also be fun to read.
Yeah.
But again, I haven't read a book in like 3 or 4 years. So,
right. Yeah. I mean, you're still going to be able to get some of the information once it's released to retail. Some of that's just exclusive to Kickstarter, like special covers, hardbounds, what they were doing there. But they are going to make them available after the fact to retailers or online. Like if you're into digital, you can get like however you do digital comics these days. I don't know. I don't really do comics digitally anymore.
I don't do comics anymore in general. Like Marvel done fucked up for me.
Yeah.
They killed Aunt May.
They killed Aunt May. But no, I would like to see a reboot. I mean, not a reboot, a continuation. I don't want a reboot and somebody's idea of what Farscape should be. I want the original creatives back. I want Rockney back. I want everybody back that wants to be back. I think even Claudia would freaking show up for this. This is basically what launched her career beyond the movie Pitch Black. So I say let's fucking do it. Especially if it's Apple Plus and they tell them, hey, just make your show. Just keep it under this budget. You're on. Let's go.
That would be fantastic. And you don't want to see a series like this skimp on the funds because they've done such beautiful things so far.
Right.
The episode where Moya gets stuck in Starburst and is in 3 different dimensions at the same time.
I love that episode.
When she forms and starts to push through that wormhole, not wormhole, but push through that barrier.
Exit point, yeah.
Yeah, to reform into one dimension again. Golly, that was just beautiful. It was like the three colors from War of the Worlds, the red, green, and blue,
Yeah.
and or red, yellow, and
Red, yellow, and
and blue. Yeah. And the way that they had it kind of like spiral back together was so pretty. It really was. It made me sad that we're doing this on the podcast and not ZPR where we could show pictures and stuff.
I know. Yeah, maybe we'll upgrade to that at some point.
Yeah, we'll see. God, it's a lot of fun, and you want to see it continue having those type of graphics, having that quality of care within the puppeteers. Everything was there was a labor of love. Best way
Absolutely. From the head creators all the way down to even the catering crew.
Yeah.
There's a love to this show, and it just exudes through every single second of it.
And now I want to go watch old episodes of Face Off just to watch the makeup artists talk about the show. And it's like, god damn, this is going to be cool. I love this sort of shit. Movie makeup and puppetry has always been my jam. I love that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I blame Ray Harryhausen.
I blame him too, but in a good way.
Goddamn stop motion! It's a gateway drug day.
How dare you do this to me, Harryhausen?
It's a gateway drug to practical effects.
Damn it.
Latex monsters. But do the seasons remain as good as this one? Because golly, this was fun. Okay.
I would say so. Now, to be fair, back when season 2 first started, the first few episodes aired out of order, and they kind of messed with like quite a few people, especially mine. It messed with my mind a little too much. It felt like, for some reason I wasn't feeling it. And it took me until I was visiting a friend in North Carolina, Julie, special note to you out there, where she actually had me sit down and we watched like a bunch of like Farscape episodes and all the way through to the very end. And I got to see like how the season ended, because we picked up like kind of where I had left off in that season. Because I'm like, I don't know, I just kind of got off of Farscape. I fell off the train a little bit. But watching that again with her, it renewed and rekindled my interest because of how it developed and played out. Now, years later, when I finally got like the DVD set and I watched it straight through once again, but in the correct episode order, things make a little more sense. And it's not so bad. It's not as bad as like when I first watched it live and I'm like, I ain't feeling this. No, it ends up being just as strong, but season 3 is amazing. Season 4 is really good, but when you get to season 4, they built season 4 and season 5 to do a big long-term storyline. And season 4 got canceled. There's a lot of plot points that are like hanging in the air. Like, why did we waste time on this? Why did we waste time on that? Then you get to the mini series and they wrap it up, but you can easily spot about like every 15, 20 minutes. That's what would have fit perfectly in an episode. So when you break down the mini series, it's like they had to condense what was going to be season 5 into 4 hours. And so, but if you break it down by 50-minute increments, that plays out to 22 episodes you would have gotten.
Well, hey.
So it makes perfect sense. Like they just would have spread it out better and paced it out, let things breathe in what would have been season 5. So I'm calling the miniseries in a Cliff Notes version of what season 5 would have been. And in saying that, I'm going to say each season is equally as good as this one, if not better.
Nice.
But the miniseries is, the production values are up a notch. It looks even better. There's some character design changes that happen, though, especially with other characters you'll end up meeting. I'm not terribly a fan of some of the character redesigns for a particular redhead. Anybody who knows what I'm talking about knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I love the actress. She did perfectly fine, but how they made her character look did not jive with me greatly.
We're not talking about Felicia. She's way too young for that.
No. There's a character you will not meet for quite a while.
No, fair enough.
And I love her too. And season 4 fans, you know who I'm talking about. Redhead joins the crew. Not Jewel.
State or Jewel?
Jewel is the name of another character that gets introduced soon-ish.
Fuck. Batting O for whatever. Over 2. Yeah,
all the seasons are pretty good.
That's cool.
It's my favorite show. I won't knock it, but I would be honest and be like, yeah, there's flaws here and there, but it's great.
There's House is one of my favorite shows, and there are seasons where I'm kind of like, yeah, I could die and not have to watch that again.
Well, I could say the same thing about Married with Children. Like, I love that show, but there's some seasons I could just put it on in the background and not pay attention except for a minute here and there and be like, yeah, that's all right.
All right. Once Buck died, everyone's just kind of like, fuck this.
And then the second Buck died.
The Cocker Spaniel died?
They actually had 2 different Bucks during the course of the first round until they got the other one.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh. I thought it was just the one Buck and then the soul transferred over to the Cocker Spaniel or whatever.
I don't give a buck.
I don't...
Going off tangent on a Farscape show.
Yeah, right. That's kind of what we do here.
Hell yeah. I don't know. I love this show, and I'm so glad it had an anniversary, and people still remember it fondly and like it. And if you're checking out our podcast, hopefully you enjoyed listening to what we had to talk about. Kevin, got any final thoughts before we say goodbye to everybody for now?
Yeah, man, I hate everything, and this is fantastic. So definitely give this a shot. Someone who doesn't like sci-fi really enjoyed this TV show. Like, it's got everything that I love that isn't sci-fi. It's got great pyrotechnics. It's got fantastic puppetry. It's got fantastic animation when it needs it. It's just a damn fun show.
Yeah.
That's better than Star Trek in some ways.
I would say that outside of the original series.
No, I'm talking about the original series. Fuck you, Shatner.
Yeah, well, this is still like one of my absolute favorite shows, like, period, of all time. And I love it. I love the characters, love the actors. Everybody is so good to fans, and there's such a love for this show beyond us in a fandom to the cast and the crew. Special thank you to all of you. If you check out this episode and the previous one talking about season 1, thank you for checking it out. You all have a show to be absolutely proud for and proud about. Never let it go, because we ain't going to let it go either. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you all next time. Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at sunsandshadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.
No, just that I want a Starburst now.